John is a writer, and he is very editorial, very thoughtful. It's so awesome to work with him, but also all the writers. And it's great to ask questions and push back and figure things out together as a group. I think we're all learning from each other, and of course, especially from Jon Stewart. It's been amazing.
Welcome, Tocarra Mallard, to the Sohile show. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to do this.
I am very excited. It's my pleasure to finally get to meet you. You know, we have a lot of mutual friends. There's an interesting connection with both stand-up comedy and Indianapolis in particular, I think. I've not had the pleasure to meet you or see you live before, but I was just looking on Instagram and found our mutual connections and really found you as someone interesting, inspiring in comedy and writing. And I really wanted to, interview, share your story. So again, thank you for the time and looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time. I got my start not in Indianapolis, but Chicago. Right. So I started. Right. So I don't know if anyone up in Chicago, but I feel like a lot of Indianapolis comedians go Indianapolis or Indiana in general to Chicago and then maybe to New York. But I actually went Chicago to Indiana to New York.
Gotcha. And was that led by comedy or like your job, like your full-time job at the time?
It was mostly led by the job. Okay. So before I became a full-time writer, I was like a full-time nonprofit employee. I was like working in arts nonprofits, museums, social services, and I just like went where the job was. And I was kind of devastated because I was really starting to find like a home in Chicago and in that scene. But then I quickly found it in Indianapolis as well. So I didn't have to worry at all.
That's right. Yeah. No, I just from myself, I only started stand up about 2 years ago in Indianapolis and Bloomington, where I'm from. And I would always kind of see your face on posters and shows. And so it was very familiar when I finally got to see that you are a writer now on The Problem with Jon Stewart.
Yes.
Which I'm a huge fan of. My mom and I, shout out to my mom, she loves it as well. She was very excited.
Mom.
Yeah, she's very excited I got to talk to you today. And I mean, I want to talk a lot more about that and all of the amazing things you're doing there. But we mentioned you in stand-up. You know, a lot of comedians watching this maybe want to know what first drew you to that first open mic in Chicago and what kind of kept you going.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do stand-up. Actually, like if you were to ask me in elementary school what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would have said the president of the United States and a stand-up comedian like Chris Rock. I shit you not. Like I really wanted to do this. And then along the way, like, life gets in the way. People tell you that, that's not a viable path. You're going to live under a bridge. That doesn't make any sense.
That's right.
But eventually,
And then there's also the life of a comedian.
Yeah. No. And then there's a life of the comedian. They're like, do you really want to do that? It's late night and it's grueling, And then eventually, I let those people influence me and I went another path. But then I went to Chicago and I was like, I think this is a comedy city, right? Like the second city's here.
Yeah.
And I did improv for a little bit.
Oh,
and
you
then
did?
I was like, yeah, because, after a while, when people are shutting down your dreams, you kind of get a little, at least for me, you get a little scared and you're like, instead of being on stage by myself,
right,
I'll do comedy on stage with other people.
That's right.
And that was great. Yes. That was great. I learned how to, be generous and say yes and to die on stage and to give it your all and to trust the audience as well as your comedy colleagues. But at the end of the day, like I really just wanted to be on stage by myself with a mic and make people laugh. And so I eventually around 2014 2015 I like worked up the nerve to do a little something
on your own,
on my own. And I still have that joke book with
Yeah.
awful jokes. But I tried them out, and I was so bad. Like, I would tell rambling jokes that didn't have a punchline. People would tell me about the light. I'd still run the light. I wouldn't move the mic stand. I was holding the
Fumbling with
mic
the
all
cable.
weird,
Yeah.
just like walking around. Like that was half my set, was trying to figure out what to do
Sounds
with
like
the
me last week. But
microphone.
yeah.
But you keep at it, you get better.
Mm.
And Kelsey Huff, who's a Chicago comic, put me in my first show at the Laugh Factory as part of a really great lineup. And
Oh,
then
wow.
I would just, she really is my comedy godmother, and really supported me. She also put me in her web series called The Open Mic, which we
Mm.
shot in 2017.
Oh,
So you can
wow.
find that on YouTube. And yeah, I just kept going, and doing open mic nights, and getting on lineups here or there, and um, submitting to festivals and things like that. Yeah, I love it. And it's really funny because sometimes you're waiting for your name to be called at like midnight 1 a.m. for like
Mm.
an open mic with like 15 other people who want to do 3 minutes, and you're
Yeah.
like, why am I here? But then as soon
Yeah.
as you get the microphone, you're like, oh yeah, I get it
And and
now,
and
this is why I'm here.
and that's why you're here. Yeah. And you especially, because I mean, social services, right? Like people who don't know that is second to, teaching, you know, elementary school and all that kind of thing. Like these are some of the tougher jobs. So you're like at mics till late at night, and then you got to wake up early in the morning. So like, how did you, because I would imagine this kind of was connected. Like, how do you think your work in social services, your day job, helped you in comedy? Like, I'm sure you had, like, did you draw a lot of material from there?
You know what? Actually, I didn't. Every
Okay.
once in a while, I would try to bridge the gap. I would like sort of talk about my work in my stand up,
Mm-hmm.
but it always felt kind of forced. And
Sure.
I think it was because I just took my job so seriously.
Mm.
And it
Yeah.
felt really difficult to joke about. And I
Sure.
didn't want to
Yeah.
do, and my biggest fear was, and obviously not everyone, teachers, everyone, who has a day job will go and they'll talk
Right.
about the job. It was just me personally how I was feeling about it, but
Yeah.
I was so scared that people from my job will like come to a show
Yeah. Yeah.
at Helium, or any other clubs that closed in Indianapolis, and they see that and they think that I was like talking down on the profession, and I really wasn't. So I actually didn't
Yeah.
draw a lot of experience. We had
Gotcha.
at the time our organization had a suicide crisis line, and I joke about how I was not really good at answering crisis calls because I didn't like to be on the phone in the first place. I'd be like, oh
Can
no,
we
I have to
wrap
pick up
this
the
up here?
phone. And I'm like, people are like, that's a terrible joke. And I think that also dissuaded me from making more references to my job. They're like, we don't want to hear that. You don't want to pick up unknown numbers.
Like, is that
So
is that encouraging? Is that is good for the
they're like,
brand?
that's not good for the brand. It's probably not good for people out there who need those services. So I
Like,
stopped that.
just Tocarra, man. She's the dark and edgy. That's her, man. She's
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah.
No, but that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, all joking aside, you were dealing with some of the more serious things that the human condition would deal with, and then in a way, the comedy, your escape, kind of
For
completely
sure.
different than
So
that.
I think it
And
was,
mhm.
yeah, it was better. It was better for my jokes and my joke writing to keep those things separate. And just to be specific, the organization that I was at in Indianapolis, I was
Mhm.
their volunteer manager. So what
Mm.
I was doing is I was training uh ordinary everyday people to provide very specific, very difficult volunteer services, whether that be
Okay.
answering our suicide crisis line,
Okay.
volunteering to lead support groups for domestic violence and sexual assault,
Oh, wow.
being support buddies, friends for adults with mental health challenges, or that were simply just aging out and they needed
Mm.
more human interaction.
Mm.
And then also to help staff our childcare facility at the time when we had one. So these weren't like ordinary volunteer jobs, like, oh, I need you to
Right.
clean some bookshelves. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I need you to do very hard things, and I'm going to train you as hard as I can to be able to do these hard things.
Right.
Um,
You
so
got the
that was the
mental
job that I
space
was
there.
doing.
Yeah. Hmm.
Exactly. So I was like, and also this is self-care.
Yeah.
So a lot of
Yeah.
those conversations do those really hard jobs.
Well, in that case, yeah, you were the one, like you said, managing, training these folks in a
Yeah.
sense, to do this kind of work, whereas
Hmm.
you maybe directly weren't necessarily having to
Oh, absolutely
perform
not. So
such
it's
tasks.
really
Okay.
funny because, when I got the job with Jon Stewart, there's been a lot of write ups being like, oh, and he hired a social worker. And I'm like, did not do direct service, wasn't a social worker, don't have a
Tick.
social work background. I don't want my colleagues being like, what the heck is Scar saying? Like, I just worked at that place and I helped train volunteers to do the service.
Everyone's
But I
like,
wasn't a social worker myself. No.
right. They're like, they said she was a social worker. She's actually really mean.
Yeah. Mean, uncaring. Absolutely. Doesn't care about mental health.
You're like, I was the manager. Come on.
Exactly.
But no, I mean, I think that's a perfect segue there to, as you said, the work you're doing now, a TV writing job, something that a lot
Yeah.
of comics, comedians aspire to. And I read an article interviewing you and talking about kind of how that role came to be, but I'd love to hear it, from your perspective again. So you're in Chicago at the time, correct? Or no, in
Chicago,
Indianapolis.
in
You're in Indianapolis at the
Indianapolis. Yeah, I'm
time,
in Indianapolis.
and you hear about the show starting up, The Problem with Jon Stewart.
Yeah, so I'm in Indianapolis. It's sort of we're still in the midst of a pandemic. Clubs aren't really, booking folks, doing a lot of Zoom comedy shows, which is very
Oh,
depressing. I don't know if you remember that time where you're just like, I'm gonna anyway, I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
I didn't get to do any, like, I just went to the first like helium mic they had after they opened, so we all had like our masks on.
Really? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, that too. The
and
muffled
like
laughter from the audience with the masks on.
I was
Yeah.
like, I heard one like, and I was like, I'm good. And I was like, let's give it up for Alex Price. Give him back
Yes,
here.
yes, yes. People were putting like those like mic condoms on the mics. Do you remember
Yes,
that? People would like
holy
show up and put
moly.
the
Yeah, the guy, and he's like, bro, you left your thing on. It's like,
yeah. Oh, I'm just gonna cover it was wow. What a
double wrap it.
time.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. Can't be too safe.
Yeah.
But we were in the midst of that, and I was like really getting depressed because I had promised myself earlier in 2020 that I was going to step up my comedy game, and I was like going to travel out of town. I was going to get back to Chicago and Cincy and Louisville, and I was like just going to make use of my time and get more stage time. Right, that's the big thing we always hear in our profession, right? And I was really doing it, and then all of a sudden, you had to stop, and I do the thing where you keep complaining to friends, and sometimes they appease you, and at this particular time I was
Sure.
complaining to the wrong friend who was like, bro, like, I hear you, I'm really sorry you can't get on stage, but don't you write? Can't you just keep writing? And I was like, okay, that hurt my feelings, but heard.
You got a
And
point there.
so
Yeah.
so I did, and I just focused on my joke writing, and I was like, okay, what's this monologue joke situation? And I sort of just really just wanted to try my hand at that, and I'm really glad I
Yeah.
did. So now
Right.
we're getting to how I got the job.
Absolutely.
So
Opportunity presents itself.
exactly. And so I also joined a lot of listservs at the time, professional stuff, get in touch. And one of these particular listservs was like, hey, I don't know what this
Oh.
is, but Jon Stewart's looking for writers, and you don't need an agent or a manager to submit. I guess it's a blind packet. And I
He
see
does
this
do that. I've
thing.
heard he does those.
Yeah.
Like I heard like from
Yes.
the Daily Show. I interned at the Daily Show one summer, like when I was in college, and I remember
Yeah.
hearing that about from the writing staff that he does blind submissions.
Yeah, apparently he did that with his untitled HBO project that, kind of he changed his mind about, but I think a lot of his writers came from that process too.
Oh, okay,
which is really exciting. And then
so you heard about it, yeah.
So I hear about it, and I was like, wow, I'm really excited. Oh, I'm gonna do it. I can't wait, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, I kind of chickened out, and I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, I'm not ready. This is Jon Stewart. I can't do it. And then my friend, who I guess is a part of her own writing situation, she's a playwright and director, was also part of a lot of listservs, sent me a text and was like, hey, I'm going to send you something. Jon Stewart's looking for writers. And so I hear about it twice from someone who specifically thought of me. And I was like, wow, I think I'm going to do it. If anything, it's just I'm practicing the skills I've been working on. So I submit this packet. Exactly. I've been writing. So I submit the packet. It's blind, of course, no names, no
Yeah.
nothing. I'm just like this. These are the jokes. And
Yes.
I don't hear back. And I'm like, well, you know
Uh,
what? I'm still really happy. I'm proud of the work I
yeah,
did.
absolutely.
And then I hear back and they're like,
Mm.
hey, can we get some more stuff? Um, Send them some more stuff. And they're like, hey, can we do an interview? Have an interview. It's terrible.
What?
Because it's so bad. And I'll tell you why. And it's because I did it when I was at work. So I'm hiding in a closet
Oh,
at
okay.
work,
Yeah, yeah.
praying to God. No one like knocks on this door, like tries to come in.
You got the phone
I'm very
light on you.
serious. The
Yeah.
foam light, I'm a makeshift desk situation.
Being
And
held
then
hostage.
exactly the meeting's at 4 and they're late.
Ah.
And so I automatically assume I'm like, this whole thing was a fucking joke. I've been set up. Um, and
Got
they
it.
got me and they got my writing and this was not a real thing. And I'm so dumb. And then like 4 minutes later, they come on. And so I'm like emotional and hiding. And I'm like, I give a very serious, like buttoned up interview about how I feel about comedy and news and current events. And they're like, okay.
And
So
they
we
say,
get
we
off.
asked where you're from.
Exactly. And they're like, we just wanted to know how you feel about Jon Stewart. And I'm like, Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
What is he? It's so bad. And
Like
so
1999.
exactly.
I mean,
Indecision 2000. Let's talk about
I,
it.
Colbert. I, I mean, bravo to you, for the whole thing. And we all see how you're, on screen now, like fans like myself, we worship, Jon Stewart in the era. And I mean, it's hard. I imagine to turn that side off and be like, yes, colleague, professional. So, I mean,
Yeah,
I think we'd all kind of be in that moment too. But the rest of the interview,
absolutely.
you know,
The rest of the interview is what it is. I get off the call, which was with the showrunner and the head writer, Chelsea Devontes, and specifically shout out to her because it was her idea to do that blind packet.
mm,
And she, 2,500 submissions. She read every single one. And I guess she saw something in my writing and in that really bad interview because she did call me back later and offer me that gig. And it's
and
changed my life. It really has. Was able to do it from Indiana for a hot second, and then we all
mm,
had to move to New York.
gotcha.
But it's been great. And John is a writer, and he is very editorial, very thoughtful, and
Mm,
it's so awesome to work with him, but also all the writers. And it's
mm,
great to ask questions and push back and figure things out together as a group. I
yeah.
think we're all learning from each other, and of course, especially from Jon Stewart. It's been amazing, and now we're on season 2, and it feels really good, and the material's gotten better, and we're working better as a team, and
Hmm.
it's great. But just because I have this job doesn't mean I'm an expert. So I'm still doing my monologue jokes every day and working on structures and reading other people's scripts because the learning doesn't
Mm,
stop just because I have this dream job. Uh,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, on the viewer side of things, the show, it's a really unique format, like with the interviews and
mm-hmm.
such too, like the panel, I should say.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
but also I've really enjoyed like the digital content, like the behind the scenes. And I mentioned you podcasting earlier, like the writers such as yourself being featured on the show's podcast. I think that's really cool. Like, has that been something you've enjoyed doing as well? Like, how do you prepare for those episodes that people may see on YouTube and such?
The podcasts are so much fun. I hope I don't get in trouble, but obviously I love to write. I am a writer, but it's just really great to talk to John on the podcast about whatever is floating around in his mind. I think for season
Hmm.
2, we really tried to stick to episode topics that tied to the AV show, the show on Apple TV Plus. But now, top of the week, John's like, I'm really interested in this. And I want to talk about this. Or I read this.
Yes.
Bring that person in. I want to talk to him. I got this latest podcast. John read an article in Wired about a startup that wants to help dogs live longer. increase their lifespan. And, he's an animal guy, as an animal
That's
sanctuary. And
right.
he's like,
Yeah.
I need to talk to this person. And
Uh,
so,
put
the
their
writers on
stuff to
that
use.
show got
Yeah.
to be really funny with that, especially because there was a dog lover and a writer who does not like
Oh
dogs
my
very much.
gosh.
And
Yeah,
so it's just a
yeah.
really fun push and pull on that. So for
Yeah,
me
like
personally, it's really cool to be on the pod and let John see, I've got some thoughts, I've got some feelings, and
oh
it's
gosh.
really great to share.
Yeah, really great to share, really great to watch and listen to, like you all just riffing. Like I think that's just like what comics, and I think you would agree, it's just like what we love
Oh,
doing the
it's the
most.
best.
It's
It's the
just
best.
it's just comedy. And he at the core, maybe people might forget, but he is like he's a comedian, a stand-up at his core, and
Yeah.
loves jokes, loves right. So just to watch you all shine on that platform is really awesome. Like there was one I think it was the podcast before he interviewed Mark Cuban. And
Oh, yes.
I was really excited because you were on that, and I was like,
Yep.
"Oh yes, you can bring some Hoosier context to this," because I'm sure to a certain extent you claim Indiana as a
Oh, yeah. Have
one
to.
of your many
Yeah.
homes,
Yep.
as it
Yep. Yep.
still
Yep.
is, and as someone born and raised in Bloomington who went to IU, like you couldn't walk 3 feet without hearing about Mark Cuban on campus. So
Yep.
I thought that was really cool that you got to add that context to the episode.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I had to. Um, my partner went to IU Kelly School of Business when
Oh
we
no
won't
way!
forget. Yeah. And so when I let him know I was
Friends you
gonna
every
be on the
morning.
podcast every morning, he's like, I went to Kelly. And I'm like,
Like
congratulations.
I know it's tattooed on your chest. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm like, do they train you all to say that every chance you get? That is wild. You will not stop. Anyway,
Sponsored.
when
Yeah.
I exactly when I told him we were going to be talking to Mark Cuban, he was like, you have to mention that he went to IU. You have
Well,
to.
yeah, 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 yeah.
You have to, right? I'm like, yeah,
People
sure, sure,
people
sure.
don't know. Yeah.
Yes, yes. We claim him. He's ours.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I was so cool. I was like, oh, she's thank you. Cause like the context for that, from your perspective, you're like, he's like God on night. Like people are like,
Yes.
he's really known. And IU wears that proudly for sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
like I mean, obviously, congratulations. I always love to pull like little like insights and stuff for, maybe the up and coming artists such as, myself and my contemporaries.
Mm-hmm.
You were like, some people say, oh, she got the writing job. But you were, like you said, already writing, preparing, for that opportunity. And then it just so happened to come and you were like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm ready for this. And I was just curious, like format wise, was it straight up like monologue? I think I heard you talk about this on another podcast where you said it was like very straight up set up punchline kind of
Yeah.
the submission.
Absolutely. Um. So for that particular packet, and I think in a lot of other late night variety shows, sometimes the packets can be very dense, very difficult.
Mm,
But this one again, our head writer at the time, Chelsea Devontes, was responsible for reading every single one. And so she's like,
that's
no, I need to know
crazy.
quickly that
Uh-huh.
you get the concept. And so I think we had
Ah,
like
cut all the
several
fluff out of
different,
the
yeah,
yeah.
cut all the fluff out. And it
Yeah.
was just like, I want to see those setup punchline jokes. I want to see relevant current event headline type jokes, and
Mm-hmm.
I want maybe some more essayistic type style of jokes. So we had a lot of different
Mm.
opportunities, like sort of like this is the poo poo platter, this is the appetizer sampler of the kind of jokes we can
Gotcha.
do. So it was that kind of setup.
From like yeah, silly stuff to like you said, something
Yeah,
more editorial. And
yeah.
were
Even
were
like
you
like
writing?
okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, no. Please, I was gonna go ahead, please.
I was gonna say, like, even like, how would you write this out on Twitter? What would be the Twitter
Oh
joke?
wow.
Which y'all,
Oh,
so like we like a lot of
that's cool.
different elements of the packet, which is pretty
Well,
cool.
it's good to know my tweets. I get 2 likes or at least doing something. At least practicing. But the thing was, writing it. Were you writing it like in the voice of John? Was that kind of
Yes.
okay? So that was kind
So
of the direction there.
our current head writer, Chris, she's amazing
Mm,
and has a wealth of knowledge and experience, and is always willing to share. And one of the things that she likes to mention is that what we're doing is client services, right? Like we're all
Mm.
funny, and we all have great voices, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
we are writing for
Sure.
Jon. So even when I was submitting that packet, I had to consider, okay, how can I get a little bit of Tocarra in here, but how
Mm.
could I also get, oh, this Jon would love this. This is a
Right.
Jon joke, you know?
It's
Um,
exactly smart,
so
sharp.
yep, absolutely pointed. Just a really great reaction time, cutting to the marrow, and a lot of that
Mm.
was watching a lot of old Daily Show stuff, watching a lot of interviews,
Mm.
and really trying to get the sauce, so to speak, so I
Yeah.
could do that.
Um,
And I would encourage anyone who wants to one day write for SNL or another, late night host, just pick a host and be like, let me sort of figure out what the vibe is here with the
mm-hmm.
jokes, and then try set up punchline in that
Yeah,
voice. Because it's very specific, actually. Like once you watch a Fallon, once you watch a Kimmel, once you watch Jon,
exactly. It's
once you watch
all,
Oliver, you're like,
mm-hmm.
oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
This is sharp. This is a little satirical. That's a little mean. And you'll sort of get the spirit of the comedy there, and you
The
can try that out.
format, the comedy,
Yep.
exactly. It's really a lot more similar than it may seem. And I think that's a lesson I had to learn, like coming back to stand up. Like in the beginning, I'm trying to tell stories, and then I realized no one's really, especially as an open mic, no one's really
Yeah.
interested in your life yet. How about you tell a joke?
Yeah.
You know,
Same.
surprisingly enough, writing jokes is what telling jokes is what they're there to hear.
Yeah.
And just from doing open mics here at Indy and Bloomington, like that's the people I love seeing the most. I'm like, God, that's brilliant. Like, and there's something, a joke that they wrote, a turn of phrase, and those are the kind of things that I love the most. But yeah, like that. I mean, that's like you said. If you had any advice to give in that regard, write, challenge your writing, the point of
Absolutely.
view, the voice, but again, I mean, we love the show, but I love seeing you all being featured as well as writers, and one other person on the show that I got to interview is Reza Riazi.
Yes, we hate him.
We well, the thing down with Reza. No, not that one. No.
Actually, and then
Boy.
he wheels on in another chair.
Oh, it's like, what'd you say, bro? Come on, bro. Like, assalamu alaikum, brother. No, Reza is the best. He was kind enough also like to be on the podcast, and he was talking about and it's true. You look at the kind of topics you all are
Yeah.
tackling here. War, inequality, um, Afghanistan, all these things, and it's like you guys are making jokes, levity and stuff out of some of the hardest topics to joke about. And I just wanted to, he was telling me how he does it. I was wondering kind of how you think about that, in that regard to the writing.
For first of all, I just want to say no one hates Reza. I think we all think he's a brilliant producer. And what's weird about this is that once upon a time he was a stand-up, and I'm sure he talked about that on your show.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
it's great that he comes with such a he works with such precision and clarity, but also
Mm,
comedy as well. Like he gets the
mm,
purpose so wonderfully, and it's great to work with him as a writer and a comic. With that said, how I myself approach some of these topics, it actually takes me a lot longer to find the comedy within certain topics. I
mm-hmm.
think that's because I come from a serious professional background. So it
Right.
does take me a while sometimes to be like, what is funny about burn pits? Like,
What's the deal? No, it's
what's the deal with gun violence? And this boyfriend loophole. How come abusers just get guns all the time?
this guy
But
knows what I'm
I
talking
think,
about.
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
But getting to the comedy is really just finding that absurdity first.
mm,
So when we
mm-hmm.
talk about
Gosh.
taxes and wasteful spending, and we get to say the Department of Defense has never passed an audit, and they're getting given billions and billions and billions of dollars a year. Meanwhile, people who make $40,000 a year are penalized like that, having to pay
Mm,
money that they can't afford because they owe, and it's just That's absurd. That's absurd. Don't tax this individual out the ass. You have a huge institution right here that cannot account for billions of dollars. That's silly. And in instances like that, that's where
Doesn't
we
even
get
need a
the
joke. Yeah.
comedy. Exactly. That you just need John's face reacting to the news. And therein lies the comedy, because you get it right away, John gets it right away, and you're all here together. And now you get to be like, aha. And we get to heighten it from there.
And you heighten it from there. And it's just, in essence, what it is. And I think that's obviously what he built at the Daily Show. If we say the truth, or this a matter of fact thing that's happening, just in the way that's happening, like you said, oftentimes it's insane. And the jokes are just piling on top, icing on top, and I imagine in that regard. But
absolutely. And it's fun to you mentioned, that's what comedians like to do. We like to get together and, shoot the shit and like have these moments. And not only can we do that on the podcast, but we get to do that on our writer's room as well. So even before topics are solidified, kind of going around thinking, okay, this is what John's thinking about. This is what he's interested in. And then we just go, and everyone's talking and making each other laugh and being like, I read this, or I saw this. That reminds me of this. That's so stupid. And jokes, tagging jokes, heightening jokes. And it's just really great. And from there, it's like, okay, I think we can build something from this.
Right. Yeah.
Man, it's so fun to work with funny people every day. So good.
It's so, I mean, it's something you're actively, doing and working at, and it's inspiring to see, and I'm very, happy to hear good things are happening to good people, and people that are frankly willing to share this experience, as you're doing, like share that experience, wisdom, your insights that you're gaining, because so oftentimes, especially in comedy, it's such a like black box, out there, like you don't know till you know. And from interviewing you, other comics, producers like Reza, it's like, you just gotta ask, kind of like, they'll tell you. You just kind of gotta ask, but yeah, I mean, I appreciate all the people watching, listening, appreciate it. And speaking of the show, I should now say the Emmy-nominated Problem with Jon Stewart. I think that's appropriate. I think that's accurate to say, and
that's accurate.
From following you, I know you got to attend the Emmys this year. It obviously was. I mean, was this your first time attending?
Of course it was. It was my first time, and it was insane. And if it was my last time, it was a joy and a gift.
First of surely many, but just wanted to hear what that experience was like. What was there anything that surprised you the most from that whole thing? Just gotta say, your dress and everything looked amazing. But yeah,
my gosh, thank you so much. What an adventure. Going to the Emmys was incredible, and the really fun thing about that was that everyone on staff went.
The whole show got to go.
The whole show, accounting, research, producers, our production assistants, everyone got to go. So it's so fun to celebrate with everyone who makes the show happen. And we all got to sit together. And it was a lot of fun, and we were all on our best behavior. I got to make sure that's recorded. We all were very, very good. But it was exciting. But then after that, who knows what happened? I can't account for everybody. I'm not everyone's mom. But I have to say, being in that auditorium and like watching people get up and accept awards for writing and production and choreography and the creative arts side of TV, not necessarily the acting, it made me just realize, like, damn, like I really love TV. I love TV. I love all of this, and it's all so important and so cool. And I know, we don't collective Royal, we don't take pop culture very seriously. It's very silly and can be seen as very vapid, and but this is a cultural footprint that we're all a part of, and it's really cool that I can be a part of something that I'm proud of, because I'm sure there are people who are part of things that they aren't necessarily proud of, or people aren't being treated well,
Sure, yeah.
But we all
Business.
are, and it's just, it's that's that side of the business. But it was just so cool to be there and be like, man, I can't believe this. Like I said, I've wanted this since I was a kid.
Yeah.
To be a comic, be a writer, be an actress, and to be in the room and see, Amy Poehler, who's up for directing and writing, and to see amazing drag queens and who've made it from
RuPaul.
RuPaul's Drag Race to hosting their own show, and it was just incredible. And Lizzo's dancers were there, and it was just such an amazing thing to be a part of. And I don't take it for granted. We didn't win any awards that night, and John had us all stay in our seats, and he came over and talked to us, and he was like, we this feels amazing. I'm proud of the
You're
work.
all winners,
I'm proud of the show. Yeah, one of those things.
Yeah.
But it really did feel like it. And we
Mm.
went out, and there was, a little get to party afterwards for everyone, not just, the problem team, but, everyone.
Right,
And it was
right.
just,
TV.
so much fun. And I
Mm.
think it made us really excited to go on and create, another really great season, which we have. And we're really excited for the second half of the season to be shared
Yeah.
with everyone as well. So it was a lot of fun. Thanks for
Oh my
asking.
gosh.
And the
Yeah.
dress was a fiasco and a half. And
You
I
kidding
see now
me?
why people get stylists and things to do that stuff. Whoa,
Oh, I was
what
gonna
an
say, I mean,
experience.
I was like, was it a humbling moment where you're like shooing off paparazzi? You're like, get the hell out. Got my hair done, got the shoes. Come on. I don't need time for this. But
No, was it a humbling experience? I mean, I'm always humble, so there is no need for a humbling experience.
you're like
Um,
next to the statue.
Yes, but I was like, okay, this is fun. It was fun to get dressed up, to pick out my dress and to figure out what I was gonna do. Like the whole thing was a situation. We're all on, our email being like, "Do you have your dress yet? Do you know what you're doing with your hair?" It was stressful, man, because
Urgent
pictures are forever.
subject. Yes.
Yes, urgent.
Gotta get
Please
them.
respond.
Y'all
Yes.
got him, man. I mean, I'm just genuinely happy for you and everyone there, and getting to see that the staff got to go to, like you said,
Yeah.
the whole staff. I have friends that are like PAs at the Daily Show, just grinding it out every day,
Yeah.
driving the van in the morning if they have a license. Um, I realize that's like a
Did you
rare
drive the
thing.
van?
I did not drive, but I was like in the van with a guy going to like a
Okay.
6 a.m. field piece with Desi Lydic in Brooklyn one
Oof.
morning.
Oof.
And then they're like, hey, can you get everyone's lunch orders? And I go and I have petty cash. And then they're like, yeah, it's card only. Um, so I'm like running back and like the producer's like throwing every card in his wallet. But that's intern and PA life. But
Yeah.
and they got to go to the Emmys as well, and you all. So I mean, like I said, the first of many. I always encourage people to, check out the work of my guests, and in this case, it's not hard. It's The Problem with Jon Stewart, obviously on Apple TV Plus. Any like hints you can give right now of the episodes to come? Anyone that in particular you're excited about, without getting Tim Cook sniping you from your window?
um, all I can say is perhaps you could check out the podcast, and that might give you an inkling what we may be talking about on the show.
All right. There
Yeah.
it
So
is.
check us out on the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. They come out weekly when we feel like it. But they're great. And John's the host, and he asks amazing questions. And there's usually a writer or two on with him. And it's just a lot of fun, a lot of laughs.
Absolutely. That's what we call in the business a plug, folks. Check that out. Check it out. Tocarra is an amazing podcaster. Already, Tocarra, you've shared amazing insights, and I want to thank you, for being so open and honest with your experience. But I always like to ask, what is the best advice you've gotten? Like the best advice someone's told you, or you've heard maybe with regards to comedy or writing, that you would impart to someone else? Just your favorite.
This isn't necessarily my favorite, but I think it's the most useful and rings the truest. And it is talk to people that you're afraid of.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is I think it's very easy to talk to our peers
Hmm.
and get advice or feedback or complain or critique. But I think it levels up your work when you can talk to folks a step or two above you,
Hmm.
and ask them about their journey or get feedback on your work.
Hmm.
And I know that's really scary because sometimes, we don't want to hear about our areas of growth. But that is truly how we grow, is we look at people
Hmm.
and we say, wow, what is that person doing, or how did they get there? They're such a good writer. Like, what can I do to heighten my own journey? And I really would, but I can't because they're this. And I'm like, no, go ahead and talk to them. The worst thing they can do is say, no, I don't have the time, but I bet they'll give you 15 minutes if you want 15 minutes. So I would suggest that. And I would also suggest
Hmm.
watching more TV.
Yeah.
I swear to
Seriously
God.
though, yeah.
And I know there's so much and you don't know where to start. And if you don't know where to start, send me a DM and I will let you know what's funny right now.
Mm.
There's so much funny happening in really unique, exceptional ways. And if you want to be a writer, or if you want to heighten your comedy, you have to see what's on TV right now. It's fantastic.
I was gonna say, are you watching Abbott Elementary by any chance?
I love Abbott Elementary.
Yes,
It's
there you go. Case in
amazing,
point.
and it's great to watch feel good TV. But not only is it feel good, like it's just so sharply written.
It
Just
is
the
brilliant. Yeah, right. Yeah. There's like my mom and my mom, probably the number one fan. She's a Quinta Brunson stan, my
oh
mother.
my gosh.
So we're here for her. And like you said, it's sharply written, and I literally I can't like look away for a second because then you'll miss a punchline. You'll miss a
Yep,
joke.
exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
so
For
that's yeah.
anyone who's interested in writing narrative TV,
Mm,
such as
mm,
Abbott Elementary, highly suggest watching that pilot episode.
mm.
And then I do believe at this point it's free to access the pilot
Okay, yeah.
screenplay. So
Oh, really?
so I
Oh,
would
that's
watch
sick.
it and read it and
Wow.
see
Yeah.
what changed, what heightened, whatever. But I think it's
Uh,
such a great case study. In the
yes.
same way, I would also suggest watching Reboot, which is on Hulu.
Oh, yes.
Have you
Okay.
seen it
Hmm.
yet?
I've not seen it yet.
Um,
Reboot.
it's really really
Yes.
good, and
Okay. Okay.
I would highly suggest anyone who's interested in writing narrative or heightening their comedy, um, to check that out as well. I don't know if you can read the pilot script yet. I don't know if it's accessible now, but just watching your show, you're like, oh, that's how you
Yeah.
introduce characters. Oh, that's how you
Yeah.
tell a quick joke. Oh, that's how you move and heighten a scene and move through a storyline. It's great. It's great.
I might have definitely checked that out. But yes, I mean, what better advice than to consume, watch, learn, and actually, examine specifically kind of the work because, like you said, you'd be surprised. It's actually a lot of it is out there
A
publicly.
lot of it
So,
is out there publicly. Yep.
um, with that being said, you're gonna drop the Google Drive link for all your scripts, right?
Yeah,
I'm
all
just
the ones from 2000, all the bad ones from 2014.
put out there, just like fuck, this sucks. No,
Yes. So you can truly
yeah,
see if I can do it, anyone can do it because the shit was bad.
it's like
And
stuff you're
it
writing to
all,
yourself.
yes.
You will never make. You will never be at the
Yes.
2022 Creative Arts Emmy. You,
Yes. Once upon a time. Yeah, we don't need to start things like that.
and that's a commercial break. Yeah, it's Act Two. But yeah, I'm so glad you also. I mean, Abbott, like I said, like, case in point, some of the best TV out there right
Hmm.
now. Um, uh, Principal Ava's lines, every line is like a joke. It's insane.
Yeah.
The
Janelle
kind of
James, a stand-up comedian, by the way. So she's
yeah,
one of us, and killing the
yes,
acting game.
absolutely, no, 100%. So, really appreciate that advice. Things that I'm personally going to take and put to practice. Takar, I mean, thank you so much, for sharing all this today and to getting to talk and stuff. I always, want to, wrap things up on a good note. So I want to say thank you, and we really appreciate it. And I want to encourage everyone to check out you and your work. But last question for you before we
Hmm.
wrap up is I always ask every guest this is who or what continues to inspire you today?
You are an amazing interviewer, by the way. Thank you for inviting me on this. You asked really great questions, and transitions are incredible. Who continues to inspire me? Again, I feel like this is like the fourth or fifth time I said her name, but Chelsea Devontes, who's the head writer who read my work and saw something in the muck, is incredible. She has a development deal with 20th Century Fox and sold a pilot a little bit ago, and she's always working. And she has a book coming out too, I think sometime next year. And I think she just inspires me because she whatever she thinks of, she's like, I'm going to do it. And I think they're so funny that there's something so inspiring about someone who can take something from idea to fruition, and it's incredible. Also, she's just very, very funny. And then my kids, I am a mom. I think we didn't really talk about that, but that really does affect my life and how I write and when I write. And it's fun to have two nonstop joke inspirations running around my apartment at all times. So it's probably very corny, but I love them. They're inspiring. I think they're very funny human beings, and already I'm like, wow, they really do understand humor very well. It's so fun to watch them watch the world
great
or
timing.
TV. Amazing timing, and I have to be like, don't be a stage mom. Don't Chikar, you don't do that. But I'm like, I bet we could, turn them into little, little Macaulay Culkins here, little Raven Simones. But I'm like, don't do it. But they're fantastic.
Straighten up.
Exactly. We have an audition to go to. Smile. But I won't do it. I promise I won't.
Oh my! They're giving you tags.
Exactly. I'm like, what do you think of mommy's joke? Yeah, they're like, it's so good. And then I do it, and then it bombs. And I'm like, do not get a 4-year-old's advice on stand-up. Excellent.
Oh man, like do the silly noises bit. I love that one.
Exactly. Yeah. Do the one where you fall down. They love a physical comedian.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I can't think of a better way to end that. And again, thank you, Tocarra. This has been genuinely one of my favorite interviews, and you've made it. So talk about, like you said, one of your advice was talk to someone you're scared of. I am scared of you. No, I'm always.
I'd beat you up if I didn't get on the podcast.
Yeah. Tocarra's like, you had Reza on before me.
Yeah, that only stings a little bit.
She's like, I was in Indiana. What is he, Iranian? No, I'm Afghan. There's a connection. It's fine.
Yeah.
Afghans wish they were Iranian.
Oh my God.
And also, I gotta say, I
cut
really
that out. That's gonna make all the Iranians feel too good. The rest is gonna be like, yeah, that's right.
But don't they know it? They giving them another reason. I gotta say, on behalf of myself and all Afghans, we appreciate all the coverage that you all did. Seriously, on the war and the pullout and everything going on there. Like, it's always amazing to see the truth being told, especially on you all's platform.
Thanks so much. One of the things that I know we're trying to wrap up, but really quickly, I think one of the things that makes our show really special is that we're always trying to, we do the what, the so what, and the now what. And so we hope that when we share these stories, we're always updating the audience about what's going on. So I hope that when we hear good news about some of the people that we've been following who are still in Afghanistan, we'll be able to share that either via AV or on the podcast or something like that. But again, this is an example of a problem that has people that are greatly affected because they're still in this place. There are clear gatekeepers that could potentially solve problems or at least alleviate them a little bit very quickly. And we want to make sure that people know that, so they know where to go to email, send angry phone calls, or even just send up good energy for people that are still experiencing those things. So I hope we have some good news to share with you all soon.
Yeah, appreciate that. And many folks, including Mr. Jon Stewart, have showed up for the Afghans this year, in person and on the show. So it's seen and appreciated, and so is our time together, Tocarra. Hopefully, the first of many conversations with you. If you're ever back in one of your many homes, Indianapolis, Indiana, in any way, would love to catch up. Until then, wishing you the best with the rest of the show, everything going on. And again, everyone watching, listening, check out Tocarra's social media. I'll link everything in the description box below, and check out her work on The Problem with Jon Stewart on Apple TV Plus. Tocarra, thank you so much for your time, and until next time.
Till next time. Thanks.
Real quick, before you click away, thanks so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Click right here to subscribe to my channel for all future videos, and click right here to check out this video over here. Have a great one.